advocacy groups were here at the State Department today meeting with Secretary of State Colin Powell about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And following the meeting, they spoke to reporters outside for about 15 minutes.
Hello.
Hi.
Jim.
Hi. My name is James Zogby. I'm president of the Arab American Institute. With me is Ziad Asali, who's president of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, and colleagues of ours representing several Arab American and Muslim American organizations. We just completed an hour-and-a-half meeting with the Secretary of State, and I want to simply give you first the flavor of our opening comments, and Ziad will give you the detailed position paper and points of recommendations that we made to the Secretary. There was general consensus in our group that the Middle East is boiling. The Secretary was understanding of that fact. We are concerned as Americans that our interests and our allies in the Middle East are at risk. They're at risk because the response of the administration publicly, up until now, has been both achingly inadequate and has been perceived both in Israel and in the Arab world as giving Ariel Sharon a green light, while applying pressure on only one party who is locked in a room with no windows and no power, asking him to do more while making no public demands on the Israelis. Our silence in the face of the horrific abuses that are taking place on a daily basis, in fact, are causing people throughout the Middle East to ask serious questions about America and about its commitment to its values. We have heard from the Secretary a whole litany, if you will, of very positive things that America has done. They've been commented on in the American press, and we support them. The UN resolutions that have been passed, and the Secretary's vision, and the President's commitment to a state. But as we noted, what the administration likes to say to the Palestinians, we had to say to them. Words are great, but it's deeds that count. The fact is that we've done nothing to bring that vision to fruition. We've done nothing to implement those UN resolutions. We want a firm and forceful and balanced American intervention. The bloodshed must stop, protection must be provided, and Israelis and Palestinians both must be secure. And so it was in that light that we provided some very specific recommendations, and my colleague Ziad Asali will read those to you right now.
Thank you, Jim. I want to reiterate what you just heard. We had a very serious and in-depth meeting with the Secretary of State, and I would characterize the discussion as very frank, very open, and very serious, and it was emotional at times, as you might imagine. For the Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim listeners, I want to tell them that all complaints that they may have considered to be serious were presented to the Secretary of State today. I want to say that his position, his explanations, and the positions that he advocated were equally forthright. He expressed a personal commitment to the state of Palestine and the state of Israel under the security of both. He understands fully the political equation that goes with the security equation, the need to deal with both. And he understands that the security questions that have been raised and used in the occupation and the attack on the Palestinian people would indeed generate antagonism towards Israel and to the United States and create terrorism. This, to us, is a very important point, since our major objective as Arab Americans is to promote peace for all concerned and security for all concerned. We referred to his speech of Louisville, Kentucky back in November, and he stuck to it, and he reiterated the commitment of the President of the United States for a state of Palestine as a way out. And with the anticipated negotiation process that will be coming along. I want to now read for you what the positions that we have recommended for the State Department and for the administration to take. 1. Immediate implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1402, specifically calling for an immediate end to Israel's invasion and occupation of Palestinian areas and the cessation of all violence between the parties. 2. Simultaneous with Israeli withdrawal to pre-September 2000 positions, the placement of an international peacekeeping force to provide security and protection for both parties. 3. Set a specific date for resumption of security and political talks aimed at the achievement of a lasting resolution of the crisis based on relevant UN resolutions. 4. Provision of immediate humanitarian relief assistance. 5. Provision of medium-term assistance to the Palestinian economy, coupled with Israeli actions to restore the viability of a Palestinian economy. Thank you.
Excuse me, did you raise the case of Ms. Zala, who is an American who is believed to be?
Yes.
Can you tell us what you know of her case and what reaction Secretary Powell had?
Well, we raised generally the case of all of the Arab Americans.
We have raised 3 cases, in fact, specifically, including the case of the dead American.
But we raised with him the issue of all Arab Americans who are there, both property owners whose properties are being destroyed, those who have been shot and wounded, and those who are having trouble getting out. The Secretary has told us that both the embassy and the consulate are instructed to respond to each of these cases, and there is difficulty, of course, getting through lines, but we called for a more forceful American approach to protect these individuals. It is very critical right now that America protect its people while at the same time it is promoting peace.
I might as well add that he did indeed indicate that this is a high priority question for the State Department, and he is in touch with the consulate in Jerusalem.
Did the Secretary say anything about deeds? You were talking about deeds and not words. Did he specify any deeds that the U.S. would undertake in the near future to alleviate the plight or to the 5 points that you mentioned?
Let me just say here that it is not appropriate for us to, in fact, give you anything that the Secretary said. It's up to him to do that. What I can do is characterize his comments as understanding of our concerns, and he reiterated, as he has wont to do, and you've heard him do it before, several things that the administration has already done. But I am not going to, nor is anyone in this group going to quote for you back the Secretary's comments. It's inappropriate for us to do that.
Were you satisfied?
I think that the group, and I'll let the others speak afterwards, I think we were all satisfied with the fact that the Secretary, I think we would say that the Secretary gets it. Yes. He is understanding of the concerns. He is someone with whom we've known and worked for a long time, many of us, and we feel confident that that he is a person with whom we can work. The question, though, of the broader policy is one that concerns us and concerns many in the region, and he listened to us, and I believe he understands very, very clearly our concerns.
Specifically on the question of deeds and not words, I think it's very important to know that he does understand the significance of needed action and not just words. Right. There's no question about it.
Are you expecting any new action? On the issue of provision of humanitarian aid, what was the Secretary's response? And have you raised with him the possibility of going there him personally?
We did raise the question of a visit. He did not specifically make any presentations or promises of any specific policy action, and we want to say that.
Yeah.
Can the Minister of Organization say something?
Yes, please go ahead.
I have to go, guys. I am Nihad Awad with the Council on American-Islamic Relations, CAIR in Washington, D.C. And with me also is Mahdi Bray, Yahya Basha, and Khalid Safuri. The Arab American organizations and the Muslim American organizations have the same exact positions and the same concerns. Our biggest concern was that I spoke to the Secretary about that unfortunately our unlimited and unconditional support to the State of Israel has endangered our interests and our personnel around the world. And we have to hold Israel to a standard. Giving Israel the green light, unconditional and unlimited, has damaged our image, our reputation, and if it is not for the sake of justice, it should be for the sake of our own interest, that we should use the same language when we condemn Palestinian attacks on Israeli civilians. We should use the same terms, the same language when we attack Israel's actions against the Palestinian civilians. Unless and until we do that, we will not be seen as an honest broker in the Middle East, and we will not be seen as fair-handed administration that is planning to deliver peace when looking at the two parties with two different eyes. We asked the Secretary to elevate the delegation in the Middle East and for him to go by himself to conduct peace negotiations and to ask Israel's immediate withdrawal from the territories. It is a ceasefire that has to be initiated by both parties, and Israel takes a lot of blame because it has our equipment, it has our Apache helicopters, it has our money, and Israel, we can leverage on it and we can pressure it more than we can pressure the Palestinian populations.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? I think that there has been a ratcheting up of policy over the last several days. And frankly, since the statement that was read on Friday by Secretary Powell and the President's comments on Saturday, we've seen a gradual effort by the administration to move to a more responsive position. And I think that continues almost incrementally daily. I think that there is a nuanced change, if you will. I think the situation, and I think all of us agree, that the situation requires something far more definitive. And that's what we were pushing for. And time will tell what occurs here. But as I said, I think the Secretary of State gets it. And our concern right now is that words be followed by deeds, and that, in fact, movement toward resolution of this very, very, very destructive situation take place. This is a situation not unlike 1982, and the damage is done to the United States, the damage is done to our interests and allies can be very serious, and we don't want to see us go down that road again. And we made the point very clear, and I think the Secretary understands.
Is the main request that there be an Israeli withdrawal?
We made 5 points. Israeli withdrawal, UN Resolution 1402 should be implemented immediately. Passing the resolution is one thing, but insisting on an implementation and a mechanism for implementation is something else. And so there should be an immediate withdrawal and an immediate cessation of violence and a date certain set for negotiations to begin. If we do not do that, the situation continues to unravel, and the perception is that Ariel Sharon is given a green light to continue. And so it is imperative that America back up its UN resolutions with both a mechanism for implementation and an insistence on a date certain for the resolution.
But just yesterday, Secretary Powell said it could take several weeks.
That, we chided him on that, and that was an issue that we raised.
Unacceptable.
We do not believe it is acceptable, and frankly, it gives the perception that a green light is there.
If there's any Arab press here would like to ask questions in Arabic, we'll be glad to accept them. Thank you all very much.
Anything else right now? Yeah? Pardon? Okay. Thank you all very much.
Okay. Thank you. We'll have more about the situation in the Middle East tomorrow morning here on C-SPAN. The United States Institute of Peace will host 3 Middle East representatives who will